Have you been experiencing internal financial struggles triggered by economic concerns? Are you feeling capped at your current income level and can't seem to realize your financial potential? Energy healer Jean Border has created an emotional freedom technique, or EFT, tapping protocol to help calm the inner voice that keeps you stressed. Claim your free copy at jeanborder.com/vow and say goodbye to those financial blockages. Welcome to another episode of the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey podcast, Energy Work to Better Your Business, hosted by energy healer Jean Border. It's not just about dreaming, it's about making those dreams a practical reality. Subscribe to us via your favorite network by visiting our website at www.focusedpracticaldreamer.com. Now, get ready. Your journey to success starts here.
Hello, everyone. It's your host, Jean Border, with another great episode of the Focused Practical Dreamer's Journey podcast. I have a really cool guest with me here today, Diana Devi. But before we get to Diana, I want to remind everyone that I have a free resource for you if the economy can feel a little stressful. There's a lot of things going on. There always are, but now seems to be pretty stressful for a lot of people when it comes to money and the future. If you want to click on the link below or just go to jeanborder.com/vow, there is an EFT tapping protocol down there for you. These are the points. I'm just going through them really quickly so you can see what they are, but they're written out as well. Go through the protocol a few times. It'll help calm down your nervous system so that you can be in a place of calm versus fear, reaction, anger, uncertainty when you do make business or personal money decisions, right? Or even if you're not going to make a decision, but you're nervous about your money in particular, just go through the tapping protocol a few times, see if it calms you down, and let me know how it works for you. jeanborder.com/vow or click on the link below. Hi, Diana. How are you?
I'm great, Jean. How are you?
I am fine. I am very happy that we're able to meet. We've tried so many times and things just got in the way, and scheduling and coughing. whatever the challenges were, we're here now, and I'm so happy that you're here.
Me too.
So Diana has an interesting background. She's a clinical pharmacist, but she's also a coach and a tango dancer.
Yes.
So how in the world did that journey happen? But before we get there, introduce yourself to the listeners so they know a little bit about you before we start.
Great. Thanks, Jean. As Jean mentioned, I am a clinical pharmacist and have been one for probably more years than I would like to think about. But as part of that journey, I noticed that there are things that maybe not as well supported in our health system, but also recognizing that there are a lot of things that as an individual I can do that really change the course of my life or of your life. And so that's what I'm about, figuring out these tools and tips and those kinds of things, bringing in passion for a movement that you might have. Mine happens to be Argentine tango that I dance and teach, but bringing all of these together to really help people age in a way that they are excited about what this next chapter of their life is about. Because every decade of life brings something new and wonderful. If we can manage some of the other stuff that may be a little bit not so wonderful, but we can change that. So that's what I do and what I'm about.
Cool. So how did you get from where you were to starting a business and where you are now?
It is basically my journey. And so when I was in my 50s, I started noticing that I was having changes in my body. I wasn't thinking clearly. I wasn't sleeping well. I was starting to gain weight. My metabolism went. So I went to my doctor. She ran a bunch of tests, came back and said, there's nothing wrong with you. You're getting old and you need to get used to it. Well, that didn't really sit very well with me.
I'm sorry to break in, but I have so many issues with the throw out phrases that some doctors spew out. I feel for you. Go ahead.
Yeah. And that was exactly so. I was quite traumatized by the whole thing. And I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? And then I started thinking, well, I'm a clinical pharmacist. I'm an Argentine tango dancer. I understand movement. I've been to body workers for years. I've done yoga and meditation and all of these kinds of tools, self-hypnosis. We're just going to see if this is what we really have to live with or if we can change it. So I started doing these things and changing. And at the same time, I was working in the pharmacy, but also teaching tango. And I would have students come to me and they go, I'm really here for a tango lesson, but I'd really like to know all of this other stuff that you're doing because I've seen an amazing change in you. So that was how it went from me just doing it for me to actually turning it into a business. And it was because people saw the difference in me and saw what had changed and wanted to know what the secret was.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
I so resonate with your story, right? Starting with the doctors. Oh, well, I was going through like a really traumatic, we'll say, divorce, working full time, playing music anywhere I could, just not to have any time to think, right? And I'd always had migraines. And so, of course, when you're stressed like that and not taking care of yourself, your body stresses you even more. So the migraines were coming like hugely and longer and more often. And one of the top neurologists in the area said, well, after he explained my schedule, I explained my schedule. Well, don't you think you deserve to have migraines?
Oh,
That came out of his mouth.
really?
I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to survive. And you think I deserve to have migraines for trying to survive? I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's why I got on my holistic healing journey
Yeah.
because I couldn't trust, if I can't trust the top doctors to even have a clue how to fix me, I'm going to have to fix myself, which is what you did.
Yeah, and I think the struggle is, and for me, I use a lot of traditional medicine to go in for diagnosis, and then I decide the treatment.
Yeah, I'm the other way. I won't go unless I'm on my deathbed, and my family has to
Mm.
force me to go to see a doctor because I have no trust.
Yeah. So, and it's always an interesting conversation when I go in because they think it's going to go this way and it ends up going this way. So, but I have an advantage. I'm in the healthcare system, so I have certain terminology and language and things that I can use that will change the course of those discussions. But there is the sense that there has to be a certain level of problem and we only have these five different solutions that are available. And a lot of times it's like they have on blinders. So really understanding that there is so much you can do that doesn't require invasive techniques or medications that have huge side effects associated with them. And it's very, and this is such an overused word, empowering, but it kind of gives you that control over your life. But you have to know what those things are. And that's what is a little bit challenging for a lot of people because and I've done this a couple of times, is I just Google something and it'll come up with 3.5 million different options as to what you need to do. And it's this way, and this person says that, and don't do this, and da, 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 da. And a layperson is very confusing as to which way to go. What do you need to do? How much time do you invest in it? How long do you try it? When do I know that it's right for me or not right for me? Because many things take a little bit of a gradual, it's like when I talk about with my facial exercises. You're not going to see a change overnight. You didn't get there overnight. It's not going to change overnight. But some of the other things, it's like hard to know if it's really working. Do I need to change course? And so that's why I think that there is a whole area of opportunity for us that are in this space to really help people that are struggling.
You mentioned a really important topic that I think a lot of people don't even think about. How long do you give a protocol that's probably created to handle all the people that fit right in the middle of a group, but not anybody on the edges, and you happen to be on one of the edges? How long do you give that protocol that really wasn't even designed to work for you before you say, this isn't right? This is doing more harm than good. I'm not moving forward. And get your doctor or your healthcare professional, whatever it is, to actually listen and offer something different. That's a very hard thing to do.
It is, and I think going toward a more holistic approach in that, okay, and I'll use an example. I had frozen shoulder. And I had frozen shoulder because I was overusing this and I was doing way too much in my life. And this is all during that time period when I was like told by my doctor, you're getting old, get used to it. So they had me scheduled for PT. They asked me, do you want a steroid injection or do you want PT? I said, no to the steroid, only 25% effective. No. Went to PT. It was excruciating, but I added in other therapies along with it, such as massage, and I had a body worker, and I had started gyrotonic and all of those kinds of things. And that holistic approach made all the difference in the world. The PT guy thought it was all him until I said, mm-mm. But that's again where having a more rounded approach is really effective. And that's where not putting all of your faith in just one thing that you do, it has to be a broader approach because you didn't get to that point by just one thing, generally speaking. It's usually a combination of things that are going on in your environment, in your body, in your stress level, could be in your business, in your relationships, and those all impact your body very definitely.
And your mindset.
And the mindset. To me, they're like this. A lot of uh, I had decided I was going to do a PhD in kinesiology, so did that for a year or two and then went, no, because I wanted to move rather than read and write. But there is the whole relationship between what you do with your body and how it impacts your mind and the other way around. So I'll give just a small example is that there are certain brain exercises that I do that increase the prefrontal cortex and minimize what happens back here in the reptile brain. And it's definitely a body-mind relationship. And you can't get there by just thinking about things. You have to have the relationship between the two in order to make it work. Um, so that's just one example of how you pull them together and how it works. And these are simple things, but just doing word games is not going to cut it. You have to have that relationship between the two. So sitting on a mountaintop and meditating for hours doesn't work for my body. I need to have the movement and building that goes with that.
Is
And
that
most
how you got into tango?
I got into tango a little bit before that, but I knew I needed to move. And so I chose tango because I like movement and dancing, and it's a social outlet. It is fun. I've danced on 4 continents. I've met people from all over the world. I um, absolutely love it. And oh, by the way, because I love it so much, I'm willing to do exercises to strengthen my body, to do balance. I know if I don't eat well and I'm getting ready to go to a dancing event, I'm not going to feel good. I'm not going to have the energy that I want. So finding those things that you really enjoy can change the quality of all the other aspects of your life. And then it doesn't feel like you're giving stuff up because you're saying, I'm making a choice. I choose joy and whatever it is that is versus instant gratification and guilt later.
Very funny that you use that word joy. I do a lot of, I buy things at auction a lot. And just this week, and just last night I hung it up, I bought a canvas painting that's framed, and it's joy. And it's got some like fireworks and things in it. And I just hung it right in the straight ahead of me in my office. I'm sitting like in a corner. And I've got all these canvas things that really, they're not all canvas, but they're me. right? I lived in Italy for almost 5 years, and when I left, the people that I worked with got me a very big canvas. I'll call it a picture of Mount Vesuvius, Naples and Mount Vesuvius, which is where I was stationed, where I worked with the Navy there. And so that's like right here on the wall. And I have friends, holistic healer. She's a fantastic artist that has made several. She calls them heart art, where she'll tune into her client, whoever it is. In this case, it was me because I was her friend. Um, and whatever comes to her is what she'll paint. And she sent those to me, and those are there. And I just have those kinds of things in front of me so that when I work, that's what I see. That's what brings me joy.
Yep. And it comes through, right? It comes through when you have that joy, you have that energy, and it changes you, but it changes everybody around you as well. And how you present to the world and how the world sees you, which that so much brings into confidence, because when you have that within you and you send that out to the world, then the world sees that and goes, hey, look at her. What's going on with her? What's happening there? Versus when you're closed off and you're in retreat mode and this kind of thing, then the world passes you by and you become invisible. So being able to regulate that whole paradox of, I have joy, I'm doing something new, I don't know how good I am at it, but I'm going to ride the joy to get through the discomfort.
When you work with clients, how do you start?
Generally, I start with talking with them about what it is that is bothering them the most. And that gives me a key as to where we need to start. So I have a couple of programs, and I'm talking, for example, in a one-on-one client, because I'll do like a 6 month with them. And it will begin with what is bothering you the most, because being able to have something that helps them immediately gives them the energy and the incentive to continue on. And there are lots of things that are all kind of mixed up in this together. And as we start peeling them off, other things start to open up as well. So that's where I start. I also have like, it's, for lack of a better term, jumpstart. I think people understand what that means, but it's really a 6 week to get you started. And there are some general topics, because most people don't sleep well. Most people have a lot of achiness or pains or those kinds of things. A lot of people don't have very much energy, not sleeping well, all of these things. So really beginning to pull off the top layer of those is really a good place to start, because it helps you understand what it is that's going on with you. And that's the first place to begin.
Do you incorporate movement or movement plans in your programs?
Surprise, yes.
I figured you did. We hadn't talked about it, but I figured you did.
There's a little bit in there. So I have from the tango stuff that I've done, and you don't have to be a dancer to do these, but I have things with balance and with movement and a whole host of those things, because movement really starts to shift the energy. It changes blood flow. It reduces tension, a whole host of those things. And most of us can walk forward and walk backwards and stand on one foot. And even if you can't stand on one foot, you can put your hand on the wall or someplace else and start to do these things. And then some of these, like for example, the balance exercises, you do them in 30 seconds and already your balance improves. How amazing is that? Your body learns so quickly on that stuff. So those are the kinds of things that are added in and that I do. I have an exercise. All the women in my family have flat butts except for me. And so my sister calls it tango butt, but there are exercises and ways that you want, right? Isn't that great? It's like,
That's
yeah,
fun.
tango butt. Yeah, okay. But walking backwards in a certain way starts to build the muscles in the glutes and that area to really change the way that looks, because we get to a certain age and things start to sag a little bit, and we don't necessarily want that to be happening. But little things that you can do, and a lot of these are in like 5-minute increments for movement, which just starts the whole process of feeling better, looking better, more energy, and enjoying the way you feel.
So, in my experience, I'm not going to speak for everybody, but so many people don't remember how movement changes their state, their mindset, their psychology, physiology, their state. If you want to use the Tony Robbins word, state. Just a simple movement can change your state. Doing the Wonder Woman pose can make you feel strong and confident, right?
Absolutely. I mean, deep breathing, right? When you breathe and you adjust your posture so you're not, hunched over, but you put your shoulders back and your head up, taking deep breath and exhaling, even just if it's one breath, it makes a huge difference in how you feel. And in my mind, that's in a way a form of movement, right? Because you're changing the way that your muscles are moving, your rib cage, all of that. So it doesn't mean that you have to go to the gym and do heavy weights and do them for 45 minutes, 3 times a week and la, 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 la. There's good reasons why we want to do weight, but let's set reasonable expectations that I can actually do 5 minutes a day, a couple times a day. Everybody can do it. And that start to build my energy and change the way that I think and feel about myself and about everything else that's going on around me.
We had a conversation before we got on a little bit about uh, I'm a holistic intuitive, right? I'm a holistic healer. And so I listen to a lot of different holistic type shows. And one of the recent podcasts that I was listening to, it was all about breath and deep breath. And some people don't realize just how shallowly they breathe, right? And when
Exactly.
you take in a huge deep breath, sometimes people do it enough times they get lightheaded because their body's not used to all the oxygen going through their body, right?
The brain
Singers,
didn't know what to do with it.
yeah, singers who sing all the time don't have this so much because they are, always strengthening their lungs by trying to hold that breath longer and to hold the notes longer and with strength, right? But if you're not a really good, strong diaphragmatic singer, I'll say, um, it's very easy to breathe shallowly and not give your body the oxygen it needs to feel at its best state. And
Yeah,
you,
absolutely.
you get
And there,
unhealthy breath stuck in the bottom of your lungs because you're not breathing it all out. So that makes you breathe even more shallowly because you're not bringing in as much as you could. So just being aware of these little things can sometimes build you up, make you stronger, make you feel more like yourself.
more oxygen to the brain gives you more energy, but there's also a whole host of things as far as what it does to various parts of your nervous system. So there's 4-4 breathing, and that's what the Navy SEALs used when they were in situations that were stressful or going into them. There's the 4-7-9, or, tons of different ones associated with how you breathe. A lot of times before I come on video or I do anything on a podcast or any of those kinds of things, I'll make sure that I take 3 deep breaths, nice inhales, nice exhaling totally because, oh, by the way, when you exhale all the way, you get rid of a lot of junk, basically waste products or stuff you don't want in your body by a nice deep exhale. And it changes everything. It's amazing that the breath has such a great impact on what it is that we do and how we feel.
It is amazing the difference between shallow breathing, and I've known all my life that I've known for decades that I get on my own unless I'm singing, I breathe too shallowly. You know, my shoulders don't go up and down. I don't breathe totally from here, but I also don't breathe from the bottom of my lungs the way that experts tell you to do, right?
Right.
But sometimes things are natural to some people. They're they have to be worked out a little bit for other people. And that's me. I have to be conscious of actually expelling all that CO2 or whatever that gets stuck in the bottom of my lungs so that I can take in a lot of clean, relatively clean air to create the oxygen. Okay.
Yep. Absolutely. And it has a tremendous calming effect on your nervous system because the body's getting what it needs and it's not panicked because it doesn't have enough oxygen. So it has affects a lot of different things for sure.
This is totally off topic, but it goes back to the tango discussion. How do you get good partners? How did you start tango with how does that whole thing work? Because you can't do tango by yourself. You need a good
Yeah,
partner.
well, actually, when I started doing tango, and this is Argentine tango, which is a little bit different than ballroom. Argentine tango, and I'll just take a second to explain the difference. Argentine tango is more about the relationship between the partners, and it's totally improvisational, and you dance with your partner, but with everybody else in the room, and you're going in a specific direction around the room. Ballroom tango is generally more open and it's more for display purposes, so to speak, than it is the intimacy between the partners. I started dancing tango about 20 years ago. I did not have a partner. I would go to the classes and through going to the classes, you meet people. I studied probably with 3 or 4 different people because I'm one of those that if we're going to jump in, we're going to go all, total immersion. And was
I'm so
basically
there.
dancing, 6, 7 days a week between classes and then going to events. But I didn't have a partner. And after about 5 years, I would go to festivals and other events, around the country, or maybe I went to some in Canada. And I would learn things because they have them where you have classes and then you have dances. And so I would go to those, I would come home, I would know how to do my part as a follower and not know how to do the leader part. So I said, well, we're going to change that. So I learned how to lead and follow. And the interesting piece of that is my following got better because I learned how to lead. So and I think this is true a lot in life, is once you step into a role where you're teaching or helping other people or doing the leader part of it, you develop a whole nother level of understanding of what it is. To this day, I can go to an event, I can lead, I can follow. I prefer to follow. And there are some events that are, 2 to 1 as far as followers compared to leaders. But having the ability to jump in and just do something new I didn't know anyone in my first class. I was so nervous about going in and starting. I'm nervous in a way, but super excited. So there's always that kind of borderline between the two. But I was hooked. After the first one, I was hooked. And understanding that, and this applies when you start a business as well, you're going into a space where you have zero experience. You've been an expert in something else, and now you're going into something that you know nothing about. And being kind to yourself and understanding that I'm not an expert here. I'm a learner. I'm totally open, and I may not have it right, but I have the confidence to know that I'm going to come back and do it again. I don't have to have it all right the first time. And that really was a big thing.
You said several things in there. Number one, anytime you start something new, there's the nerves that you need to they're going to be there. Just do it anyway, right?
Absolutely.
Something else that you said that is so helpful, and it's also a little bit scary for people, is teach someone what you know. Then you'll find out how much more you have to learn, but also how much you do know.
Exactly.
When they start asking you questions and you can come up with the answers and that they're the right answers, that's such a big confidence builder, right?
Absolutely. Because you're like going, yay, I know what you're talking about.
Because we're so good at knocking ourselves down. That's if you know the answer when someone trusts you as the expert, which you never thought you were, oh my gosh, you can't dispute that that person came to you and you knew the answer. Again, confidence builder.
We have hard data now that we can
Mhm.
say.
Well, that's another tip. Start training yourself to look for proof that something is true. So often we look for the proof that something's wrong with me, or I don't know enough, or I didn't learn enough, or I need another certification, or I need a PhD in kinesiology, right? No, you don't. Yeah, well, some people do, right? I mean, if you're going to be a surgeon, please, get your
Yeah,
credentials.
please go with the certifications.
Yeah. But if you're going to be a speaker, you don't need another certification. You don't need another class. If there's an area that you want to improve certain skills, take those, focus on that. But don't go out and get a whole certification when you only need this little piece of it, right? We get so wound up on what I don't have, what I don't know, um, not necessarily in your best interest.
I started with that being able to say, okay, there are signs and things that are coming in the universe, but also I'm going to be on this journey of having things that I notice that are coming to me that are true, that are validated. And I started with something super simple. And it's like, I get princess parking. Princess parking means that when I go somewhere, I find a spot that is kind of close to the door. So, and I've been doing this for a few years, and there's been events that I've gone to I went to a musical, and we were running 15 minutes late the time that we wanted to be there. But miraculously, as we pull up to the front and we're going to let some of the other people in the car out, the guy who was in the parking spot right in front of the door that was metered and not a wheelchair, accessible one, guy pulls out, we pull right in. And it happens to me all the time. Christmas shopping, all of that kind of stuff. So finding those times, and when it doesn't happen, it's like, I guess I needed to walk today, rather than, oh my God, my, Princess parking power is not working anymore. What's wrong with me? What did I do? No, it's like, guess I needed to walk today. So really changing that
Yes.
mindset when you find something that doesn't work perfectly. Oh, this is time for me to explore it in a different way.
It's very funny. You talked about the princess parking. What came to mind for me is I, all my life, I was in travel jobs, right? I traveled all over. And there were teams of us that would go. And when I would travel with this one guy, he always got bumped up to first class. Always. It's like, what the heck? It's like, it never failed. Every time I flew with this guy, we paid the same amount to be in, the back part of the plane. And he was in first class every time. You set the expectations, you put things in your mind that helps you make subconsciously, it helps you make decisions that will lead you to that
Absolutely.
goal.
Yep.
Once you decide and you just keep that in your head that this is how it's going to be, you start to make decisions that lead you there, as opposed to decisions that keep you stuck.
Yes, absolutely. Totally agree with that.
Sorry. What's the most fun part about your job?
I get to see people when they come out the other side. I get to see what happens with their lives. Um, I had a client who she had a job that at one point in her life she loved, but it got to be too stressful. And quite frankly, it was a job for two people. She was gaining weight. She wasn't feeling good. She was starting to have her blood pressure go up. She was starting to have marital problems, a whole host of things. And coming out through the end, she decided that this was not the job for her, which was a big, big decision, but recognizing what this was doing to her body, to her life, and all those kinds of things. Second thing is she lost 45 pounds and didn't even really have to try because she was
Um,
eating better, she was walking, she was less stressed. She was spending more time with her spouse, and their relationship has taken off. It's back to where it was when they first got married. And she's spending more time with their children and actually took the time to go down when her grandchild was born. Not right away because the family kind of needed the time, but soon after that, and spend a week or two just with the family and doing the things that she enjoyed doing. So it was a radical change in her life. Not everybody has that radical a change, but there's been consistently a change in how they feel, in changes in prioritization. What is important to me? And a big one, especially for women, is, am I doing this because I want to? Am I doing this because I have to? Am I doing this just because somebody asked me to do it? And really being clear, because we have a finite number of resources in every single day. And we need to do something that enlivens and excites and builds for us. So seeing those things, seeing the difference in the way these people walk, the way they project in the world. Some of them get promotions. Others of them decide, I'm going to retire. It's some start new businesses or build a business. So watching all of those real life changes, and it's like taking a flower that's a bud and watch it grow and expand and really own the space and enjoy life and realize my life is not over. It's just beginning.
Something that I find useful and empowering is creating an identity statement. Not who you are right now, but who you know you can be and you will be. I am a retiree who's healthy and my body shows that, right? And I
Yes,
enjoy my world. Maybe that's an identity statement for her, right? We
exactly.
all have different wants and different desires, and that is perfect. Whatever you want is perfect for you.
And you can change your mind. If you
Yes,
get there and you don't like it or you don't want it or you want something more, because that's what I find is that once I get to a certain point, I'm like, this is great, but because I'm a little bit of, I like new experiences and doing new things and that kind of
me too.
stuff.
I
So
get bored so easily.
yeah. So some people call it shiny object syndrome. I call it, we're being more open to the what the world has to offer. But
There you go.
right. Um, but it's you're not wedded to it. That's the thing. You're not stuck. It's not, a 20-pound weight that you have tied to your ankle that you're going to have to drag along for the rest of your life. You can fine tune it. You can say, I like this, but not this. And let's try this over here and throw that in.
Exactly. Yeah, mindset is a very interesting thing. If you choose to focus on the negative, your world becomes negative. If you choose to look for the positive, then your world becomes an opportunity.
And I think that has a lot to do with how we age as well. And I see this a lot of, there'll be comments like, well, after you be on a certain age, no red lipstick. It's like, or long hair or short skirts, or even a lot of us think about it for ourselves. I can't learn a new language because I'm too old. I can't take on this physical activity, whatever that might be. It might be climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. I'm not doing it. I don't like cold. But, whatever that is, if you think you can't do it, you will not be able to. If you say, you know, I does a red lipstick look good on me? Great, I'm going to wear it. Does purple look good? No, it doesn't. I'm not going to wear it. But really figuring out what it is. There's a woman in our tango community. She's 70 years old. She's got legs like Tina Turner. She wears short skirts and she should. So having that ability to say, I can try something new. Age is not a deterrent for me. Age has given me wisdom and the desire to be able to say no to what I don't want, to not care about as much about what people think, to be able to really step into that and say, I've got a lot of wisdom that I didn't have when I was in my 20s or 30s, and I'm using it.
We're talking about point of view. Your point of view directs your actions. My point of view directs my actions. My
Yes.
point of view is not the same as yours. We have things in common, but they're not exactly the same. And you're entitled to whatever point of view you choose. It's typically built on our history, our experiences, our belief systems, but it
Yes.
can change.
We can change our point of view. Absolutely. No doubt about it.
And the other part to that is your subconscious always wants you to be right. So it will find proof that you're right. Whether you think you're too old, it'll find proof that you're too old. If you want to find proof that it's okay to do tango at 70 and wear short skirts, it'll start looking for proof that that's true because it'll find other people who are doing it. So you're not alone. See, model this person, see what they're doing and do the same thing. Modeling is a very accepted way of not having to go through all the steps yourself. You find out what someone successful did, and you take those steps. Now you alter them to fit your circumstance, but you keep your eye on, this is my goal. These are the steps they took. I'm going to see which of those steps fit my journey. I'm big on the word journey too. I like that you keep bringing that up. Obviously, it's in the name of my show. Yeah, I think we're here on a journey to better ourselves, or for some people, it's just to see how miserable they can be, is how it comes across, in social media anyway. Let me see how miserable I can be and how miserable I can make everyone else. For me, it's the opposite. I want to empower people because that's what juices me. My journey is, I believe, a positive one. Look for opportunities, look for things that excite me. Sing with the chorale, the symphony chorale, or the local chorale, or with just a group of people who want to sit around and sing. Whatever makes you happy, go for it. It'll help your physiology. It'll help your mindset. It will help you build the future that serves you rather than tears you down.
Absolutely. And I have a client who decided she wanted to do pickleball. I mean, it's not changing the world, but made a huge change for her. And the interesting thing about it is that she started to develop this friend group, and now they go on walks together, and now they go to the gym and work out together and those kinds of things because they want to get better at pickleball. The second thing I would say is you talk about modeling, and I view it as like I'm trying on an outfit.
Mm.
I try on the modeling behavior and see, does this fit? Do I like it? Do I need to make some adjustments to it? I'm not wedded to it, but if it works, but I need to make a few tweaks, great. If not, I take it off and we're done. I'll move on to something else.
I think, in my experience, what works for somebody exactly most likely will have to be tweaked to work
Yep.
for someone else. But the basic steps give you an outline, a roadmap, right? First, I
Yep.
have to do this. Then I probably have to do this. I like the word probably. I don't like absolutes. I don't like the word always. And I don't like the word never, because it cuts off options. And I'm all about opportunity and options, right?
Yes.
So try to find what works for you. And as something works, look for proof that it's working for a lot of other people as well. And that'll help your subconscious keep leading you towards your goal, right? So
Yes.
listen to that inner voice that says, nah, I've been on this medical protocol for too long, or I've been with this dance instructor and I think it's time for me to move on to see what else I can learn, right? So
Yeah.
listen to the voice inside your head that's giving you cues. And the more you listen, the more your intuition will grow and will help you towards your goal.
The other thing that, and some people have it as a listening tool, some people have it as, like for me, it's more of a gut check, or I feel it in my body, which makes sense as a dancer, right? You would feel it in your body. But there is asking that question and notice if there's something sensory wise, or do I hear something different? Does it seem to me it looks like it's, so you're really deciding what sense it is that you're relying on and paying attention. Absolutely. You are absolutely right. Ask the question and see what happens.
Yeah, my view on it is everyone has intuition. Not everyone has trusted it, And so it's gotten shoved down. But the
Yeah.
more you allow it to come out, it's just like a muscle. The stronger it will get, the more it will serve you.
Exactly.
So we've been talking for quite a while, and I don't even know how long because I didn't set my timer. So
I don't know either. We were just going along here.
tell people where they can find you. You're all over the place.
I am. I'm on Instagram, An Ageless Life. I'm on Facebook, An Ageless Life with Diana Devi or Diana D. Devi. I am on TikTok, An Ageless Life, YouTube, An Ageless Life with Diana Devi. And what I do on TikTok and on YouTube is I post videos and content about they're like mini trainings, but really stuff that people have either asked me questions about or as part of my journey, what I have discovered. And most of the time, there have been at least 5 to 10 people who have asked me that same question about that as far as that's concerned. My website, anagelesslife.com, you can find me there. And I think that's pretty much it. That
There'll be
covers quite.
links down below. If people don't, if you didn't catch all that, you can click on the link below if you're watching and not just listening in your car. Do you have any final thoughts any final topics you'd like to bring in before we close out?
So a couple of things, and one of the things that I meant to mention is I have a free gift about 5 things that you can do to feel sexy at any age.
Ooh,
Being sexy with confidence, because there are people that I know that are super confident. They're not maybe the best looking people in the world, but there's that attractiveness and that sensuality associated with them. And I mean sensuality in the overall sense of what you see when they're there. As far as what I would say for parting is that aging is a privilege. Not everybody gets to do it. And make the most of the time that you have because there's so many wonderful things out there to do.
still have things on my bucket list, and I just added one more. So, I think I'm getting it shorter, and then it starts to grow again. So
It's like, yeah.
there will be links to the resource down below also. So
Great.
thank you for being here. I'm so glad we finally got to. I'm so glad we finally got to have the conversation on air rather than just us talking.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So I also want to thank the listeners for tuning in. We drop a new episode every Tuesday. Shoot me a line if you have questions or if you have topics you'd like to hear discussed. I'm very big on holistic work, mindset work, the psychology of personal and business growth, energy work. I'm a holistic healer. I do all kinds of energy modalities. But any of those that strike your fancy or ones that you haven't heard me talk about, I'm open to learning new stuff, just like you are, obviously. Drop me a line. I like to hear from the listeners. I appreciate that you've chosen to spend your time with me. And thanks, Diana, for being here.
Thank you. This has been fun.
Okay, until next time, this is your host, Jean Border, with the Focused Practical Dreamers Journey podcast.
We trust you enjoyed this episode of the Focused Practical Dreamers Journey podcast. Energy work to better your business, hosted by energy healer Jean Border. Remember to visit our website at www.focusedpracticaldreamer.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Focused Practical Dreamers Journey.